Hey everyone, welcome to Start Your Dungeons. I'm Adam,
I'm Bryce.
and today we're talking about Pirate Borg, which just came out
Yep. On Talk Like a Pirate Day.
on Talk Like a Pirate Day.
September 17th, I believe it
Mm.
was. So it was officially released. It was kickstarted, but its official published release was on Talk Like a Pirate Day. So
So this is a is it a core rule book or is it a supplement book for Mork Borg?
it's a core rule book. So one of the things that I'm sure people have noticed a little bit on us talking in some of our revenge, we're not huge Morkborg people. The book is a little just too much wacky do for me to try to understand. But this was coming out, and our local game store was like, we need people to run it for Talk Like a Pirate Day. Like, we want to do it. And I said, I'm not a huge Morkborg person, but I'll try it. And I really do like this one.
Hmm.
This is a full book. It is compatible with anything Morkborg, which is really nice.
Hmm.
But it's a full core rule book. It's got all your rules for being, pirates,
Hmm.
basically, in this area that they call the Dark Caribbean, along with monsters, how to generate them, and then like some supplementary kind of like scenarios in the back, and like almost
Hmm.
like a little sandbox module that's really good.
Nice. So what comes in this set?
It's just this one. These are some extra ones that I have that are like some little added on ones, but this one is retails $40. So it is just this core book. It's a hardcover, smaller kind of book. The book itself is really nice quality. You'll notice that like the art in it is really good. Unlike Morkborg, where I feel like maybe the art was before the writing, the writing in here fits, and it's a little bit cleaner and easier to kind of understand everything in this book.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, and I don't hate Mork Borg. I just think, and this is just my opinion, there are so many people who love Mork Borg, and I don't want to trash it. I'm just saying that it's the layout is not my preference.
Right.
I like the artwork. I think it's really cool. I like the
Yeah.
heavy metal aesthetic. I just think that it's the artwork takes priority over the aesthetic, and
Yeah.
that's not my kind of game.
Right. Absolutely. And I think this one does a really good job of balancing both.
Hmm.
It does have more of a twist to it, again, leaning towards like that Caribbean sort of style to it, old maps and things like that. It does a really
Hmm.
good job, I think, honestly, of like having the same sort of style of Morkborg, but having a little bit of an easier understanding with it.
How would you, and this is not on our list of official questions, but I thought I would just ask this. How would you compare this to something like Lamentations of the Flame Princess?
So this was, I really like Lamentations of the Flame Princess. Great game, great system, great, adventures. I would almost say this is creeping up on it.
Hmm.
And so, like, Mortborg, I think, for people who haven't played it, is, like, again, set in, like, a dark fantasy setting.
Hmm.
This is set in what they call the Dark Caribbean. The Dark Caribbean is very much like our world, but basically what happened was when they went to settle in the Caribbean, uh, there was a lost civilization that had been
Mm.
gone for years. Magic is prevalent in these areas. Magic is real, and a bunch of people from the European colonies settled in the Caribbean, and then woke up the undead. So all of these zombies and things, and there's a name for them, but I don't remember the exact name
Hmm.
of what happens. Basically, um, you are now stuck as a pirate in this area trying to figure out what's with this lost civilization, and then also like dealing with all these undead that are suddenly risen all over the islands.
Mm.
I think something that I'll say that it doesn't really fit anywhere else when we talk about our games, so I want to talk about this one. Tonally, I think this system works better in the setting than it does for Morkborg. And the reason for
Mm.
that is Morkborg is very dark. It can be very comedy funny,
Hmm.
like dark humor with it. But I think setting a dark fantasy setting nonstop is a little bit maybe harder to run. Our buddy
Hmm.
Rob, who's on the show with us, he ran a Morkborg campaign for like over a year, and he
Hmm.
said that was his hardest thing was keeping the tone.
Yeah.
Talking to him about this because he was one of the people who, when I did this for taught like a pirate day, he showed up. He said the tone, and I think I agree, the tone and the setting for here is easier to keep playing an adventure in because it's so grounded in realism
Yeah.
that it adds your own little twist and flair to, again, real history without it sort of evolving into a little too much. But I do really like this. I still love Lamentations. I think this is probably more brutal again than like Lamentations is.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but Lamentations I think is brutal, but I think Lamentations has a higher chance of you just not straight up dying. There's a lot of different things like set into the system. When I did this, I ran this. There were 3 players. One of them died and I immediately gave them like a brand new character to roll up and like used like part of the story from the introductory adventure I ran to like show off like, oh, it could just be one of the other crewmates. But this is a brutal game, similar to Mork Borg, which has that brutal aspect. But yeah, I really like the tone of this, and I think this rule set really fits this setting a lot more.
So, what about the other components? What do you think about those as far as the quality goes?
So I've got a couple of things here that were released during that same day. One of which is the reference cards. I love these. There's like 128 cards in here. It's got monsters, it's got relics, rituals, your ships, your crews, naval combat, all that sort of stuff in it. This was only $20.
Oh, that's pretty good.
So like it is a really cheap and easy sort of thing for you to pick up and go with. And I really like that about them because I think the reference cards are just nice. They have the artwork from the book in them, which I really like.
There we go.
That's a cool thing. There's also Dead Man's Cove, which is a naval combat scenario, which is actually really cool. That it's like, it's all about small fleet like naval combats, but also it's built to be run very quickly, in like 2 or 3 hours. So it's like a little setup map, some little things that you can fight. It kind of talks about which ship you're starting on and all that. So it's a really good one. This one, which I think is one of the coolest ones, and I think it's called, it's like the Shining of Thoth or something. So one side, yes, one side is the entire adventure in the setting, and the other side is this map, which is beautiful.
That's fantastic.
So this is a really cool little scenario book you can also pick up that they have now available. And then the one that I was super excited for is Dark Tides here, which is it's a solo micro RPG. So it is, you build a ship, you build a little crew. It comes with little sheets inside of it for you to keep track of them. And you literally play through a hex crawl on this little map that's included on these. And you just roll the dice whenever you go into a new area. And like, you're basically trying to get to a certain level and build up enough treasure by exploring. Very simple. Very kind of a cool one. The other one that I don't have, and is the thing I actually ran, was there's an introductory adventure they did, which I wish I had a copy of it. I highly, highly recommend it. It is really, really good at getting players into the game and kind of getting them into an understanding of like what the whole setting of Pirate Borg is like, but it also does a really good job of allowing you to build upon it and keep going if you want to. Or just stick it as a small little one-shot thing. My players loved it. They really did.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
So how easy is it to get into the game?
So the thing that I really like actually is the book is pretty easily laid out for understanding how to get in. But one of the things that they have on their website that I love, and I wish more systems did this is a sheet that basically says, here's what you roll and here's how you get your stuff, and you built a character.
There you go.
It's right on the website. You literally go in and it just goes, roll these dice, mark these numbers, bam, 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 roll here, roll here, roll here, done. Super easy to do. There's also a Pirate Borg character generator that they have online where you just literally click, build me a pirate, and it builds you a pirate. So like, there's a bunch of different ways to get into this, and like, the thing that I really like is, you probably will die, so it's okay to roll a couple of characters up.
Yeah.
So they do a really good job of having this. Like I said, this is all on the website. You could literally just use this. This is actually like almost a secondary character sheet that you could just mark things off on and go if you wanted to use that and keep going. But what I love about these is, let's say you're playing in a convention or something and everyone dies and you run out of character sheets. If you have a bunch of these, you can just say, hey, take the next 2 minutes while they're doing this scenario, follow these steps, roll these dice, and you're done. You're good to go.
Great.
Like, it is really, really ingenious how they've done this.
Maybe if Free League wants to do a free RPG day adventure next year for Pirate Borg, they could just include that in the back.
It's nice. I do think that like getting into is pretty easy. As a DM, the thing that's really nice about getting into this is DMs never roll dice. So you roll damage for enemies and stuff, but I actually made players roll it. So what I would do is every time you attack somebody, you're rolling to hit target numbers. That's kind of the way this works in this one. Is everything's got a DC that you're trying to hit, and usually it's if you're trying to hit something, it's a strength check D12. When you're dodging against something, you're rolling an agility 12. And whether or not you wear armor makes it either harder to hit, or it might make you easier to hit, but you take less damage. It's very simplistic in the way it does things, and I actually really like it because it feels like it cuts out a lot of the flaff that you don't need, where you can just say, roll this, roll that. Characters start out with a few powers, but not a lot, so you don't really have a whole lot going on a character sheet. In fact, the character sheets that they give you, on the bottom of them, most of that stuff is for your ship that you're on. So if you don't really need that, you can almost cut the sheets in half and be done. It is, and the things that are on the bottom left are like your attributes and things that are like, oh, I have like a scar or whatever. You don't have to include those. Like you can cut those out actually and just give people those little half sheets and be like, here's your character, build it how you want to.
That sounds pretty great.
Yeah, I think from a DM side, like I was a little nervous because again, I played Mork Borg, but I didn't really like delve deep into it. This was really easy to understand. Like I actually genuinely think that again, we talk about like newer players, like it was not hard to kind of jump into.
So, as for the overall rule set, is this a D20 based system?
Right.
Like we're used to?
It's a full D20 based system, and then everything else is mostly like D6s, there's some D4s, there's some D2s, which is kind of a weird thing. I like it though.
Flip a coin.
Yeah. One of the things that I really like about this system, couple of different things. One, I really like that it is player side driven. So like everything is like, oh, it's not just me rolling nat 20s when I hit you and being like, oh, it sucks. Everything is built around them rolling the dice, which I kind of like. So it's like, oh, you roll bad, that's kind of stinks. But one of the things that's in here that I really like is an attribute called Devil's Luck. And your character class determines how much you start with.
Okay.
And it's usually like a D2, a D4, a D6 per day. And what's really nice is it can be used for different things. So you can reroll dice with it. You can lower difficulties by 4 with it. You can stop a fumble from happening. There's all these really cool things. It does like 5 or 6 different things that it does.
So kind of like an expansion on Halfling Luck.
Yeah.
In 5th edition.
It's very much that kind of style. But I was giving it out for inspiration. So when I was playing...
Yeah.
There's a character called a Brute in here, and they get a specialized weapon. And the guy that was playing the Brute, he had like a magical meat cleaver. He just started role playing that it taught to him, but nobody else could hear it. And so like we would be in the middle of conversations and be like, oh wait, should we jump on the ship or should we like have shelter? And he would just start going like, okay, I'll tell him we want shelter so we can kill stuff. Like it was really funny and kind of fun. But I would use Devil's Luck as like a thing to give him. But it's kind of like this fun little. I have very few of it, but because the game is so brutal. You almost want to do it every now and then and give it. I really like that. I like how simple this class system is. There's 6 in here. I feel like for Mork Borg, there were classes in that game, but most people were like, just roll up a character and see what happens. You can also do this. They're called just landlubbers, which are literally they just roll up a character and call it a day. But they do a really good job in this of kind of helping you just build a character because it's very easy to go through. Super simple to run too. Like monsters are pretty easy to run in this. They have an HP. They have a morale. So if enough enemies get killed, they'll run away potentially. And then they have their damage.
Like old D&D, BX style.
It's very simplistic. And I say simplistic, and people might be like, "Oh, is it like too?" I don't think it's too simplistic. I actually think that it narratively drove itself of being like, "Oh, like you went into attack with your meat cleaver and hit this like shark creature." But now you're going to, whether or not you're going to succeed, like, let's hope you don't get hurt or so. I don't know. I was so drawn to this having, like, played it now in a way that I haven't done with any of the other Borg, like the Borg products.
Is there anything that you don't like about this system?
No. I genuinely like everything
Fair
about it.
enough.
Like, it's a very simple, well-run system. It gets its point across. It's easy to kind of teach players, but I think also as a DM, it's kind of just easy to run because a lot of this stuff is just like table rolls too. So if it's like, what do I give my party? Just roll some dice. There's so many
Yeah.
charts and things in this book that make it easy for you to like move forward and go quickly without having to sit back and like really plan. Like, I read that adventure that I ran, but I also kind of didn't. I actually didn't have the rule book. So I was like, I don't have the rule book, but I'm going to run this adventure. Like, and so I went early, picked up my rule book, and started reading it, and I was just like, oh, this is not hard. Like, I can make this kind of happen.
Yeah. So is this a complete game?
Yep. $40. That's all you need to buy, and you're good to go.
See, that's what I like.
Yeah.
You know, if you're gonna give me a core book, make sure everything
Right.
is in there.
I mean, it's literally everything. You could play endless adventures with just this. You know, all this product that I have is just additional product that because I loved it so much, I wanted to get. But you don't have to pick this up. Like, this is literally, you just buy this and you run with it and go. And, you know,
Just keep playing indefinitely.
yeah, and like everyone who showed up to our game, they all bought a copy because they were like,
Wow.
this looks so fun. Like, I really enjoyed it. And they were people, some of them newer to RPG, some of them playing for a long time. They were like, I just really enjoyed how I felt like after I played in those games, they looked at me and said, I could run this or I could play it. And I think that was
Very
just
nice.
really easy kind of to understand and show them.
So who is this for? Is this just for like seasoned gamers? Is this for new gamers? Who can tackle this?
I think the system is so like kind of easy to understand. I think newer or seasoned players will really like this. I think if you're looking for a pirate setting, this is the book for you kind of thing. You know, I think there's a lot of other like expansion series that have happened, like setting books and things for pirates and all that. This to me feels like just such a good book for like getting into its theme and really holding that tight without going too over the top. And just for me, I think if you're a newer person who wants to get into role playing games, this is a really good one. What also I really like is add and take what you will. So if you're like, I don't really want the mystic part of this in my game, I kind of just want it to be like a pirate game. This works because you can take and add what you want. You
Sounds
know,
great.
and I think that's a really key thing about this that I think a lot of the Borg products do well is that here they give you a thing and then tell you to run wild with it, and I really do love that.
And as far as, you know, would you like from this taste of it, would you continue playing? Would you, you know, want to try to get more people to play?
I definitely think after playing this, so again, not a huge Borg person, was not before this. This made me more interested in their stuff.
Okay.
It was very much like I played it. I've already built 2 characters I want to run in the solo. I really want to try this. I've already talked to the shop because of how well that adventure did to get to run more of this and also potentially Cyborg, which is the like sort of cyberpunk edge version of Mork Borg. So I just really feel like for somebody who didn't like Borg products beforehand and really didn't invest a lot of time and effort into them, this one gripped me so much that like I want to be a player, but I also want to DM it. And I think that's something that there's a lot of games that I play where I'm way more excited to play than DM at times. This one I want to do both. Like I want to kind of build it. I was telling Rob about how I really want to build this setting where basically it's about Spanish conquistadors that got stuck searching for the Fountain of Youth in the islands, and they did find the Fountain of Youth, but the Fountain of Youth turns them into vampires. And so like that is
So
just
it's kind of like the Ixalan Magic the Gathering.
I got the
setting.
idea kind of from that of seeing their
Yeah.
conquistador like vampires, and I went, oh, like I could do something really cool, but like I could do that with this setting.
Yeah.
And so for me, that is just something where like the ideas just kind of flow naturally with this game
Yeah.
because it's so open ended. And yeah, I don't know, like I think for somebody who's looking for a really good pirate game, is also maybe looking to get into Morkborg product of any kind, I think this is the better one to get into than picking up a copy of Morkborg just because It's a little bit cleaner, I think. It's almost like they took that core system, if you would really call Morkborg almost like a core system, and elevated it to fit their setting, but also like cleaned up a little bit of it and made it a little bit easier for as a player and a game master to jump into.
Well, I definitely want to try it. I mean, I think you've convinced me. I will go for it. You know, like I said earlier, I wasn't that drawn to Morkborg,
Right.
And but this seems like a product I would like. So
and I think like you just said, if you're not interested in the fantasy setting, but you really want to try that system of Morkborg, like I would start with this. I haven't read Cyborg yet. I am picking that up hopefully soon to try and like read, but this one, like I said, it feels like a really good entry point into like all the stuff, and what, like I said, it's compatible. So if you wanted to use, I mean, the third party market for Morkborg is nuts. You know what I mean? So much products being made for it.
Yeah, go on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Every other week there's a new Morkborg something.
Itch has so much too. Drive through RPG. So like the world is your oyster because that system is the same. You can just pick up any of that product if you're interested in that setting and just use this rule set kind of with it. So
all right. Well, if any of you have played Morkborg or run it as a GM and want to leave comments down below, please do that.
And let us know if you've enjoyed Pirate Borg yet. Like I said, it just came out on the 17th of September. So, you know, hopefully you guys have gotten a chance to try it. But if you haven't, like I said, highly recommend. So,
all right. Everyone, take care.
Bye now.